Should I angle towards you? Or should I angle to the
let's
camera?
To the camera.
All right, cool.
All right. Woo. Chilly.
Chilling.
All right, guys, welcome back to a very special episode of the Two Track Mind podcast. We are, well, actually, I should say, if you're listening to us right now on just audio, right, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, what have you, you guys are missing out. You got to go on YouTube and just check out where we currently are. Where are we, Patrick?
We are on the checkered line at Toronto. No, oh my gosh, terrible.
Whoa.
Hold on.
Big difference.
We are on the checkered line on the front straight at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Man, you can't get the TMP out of me.
It's because of the CTMP.
Yeah,
that's why it confuses everybody.
This moment feels. I feel pretty grateful that we get to do this because we're at like a beautiful racetrack.
That's right.
Doing our really pretty privileged hobby.
Yes.
This is a really nice moment that I like to capture, and I'm very sorry I screwed up by messing up the track name here.
This is something that I've just been thinking about for a while. It's like, hey, Chuck lets us, Chuck, the convener of Lucky Dog Racing Canada, which we'll just give a quick overview before we get into the podcast today. He's a convener. He lets us do track walks, and I was just thinking, well, you know what? Like, since we've been kind of recording remotely, we should just check in. There's a car behind us. We should just go on the track and record on the front straight if the weather's good. Usually it's pretty windy here, but it's kind of settled down. Like once the sun starts coming down, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
So we're here for Lucky Dog this weekend,
yep.
And I think if you guys have been following along with us on this podcast journey, we talk about it almost every episode because it's kind of taken over a lot of our capacity for grassroots motorsports has just been in endurance racing, mostly because of just how much fun it is as a team activity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for people who are new, this is essentially completely grassroots in that you don't need a racing license, right? Having some track experience obviously is welcome, but people who have had lapping days, maybe you've done some time attack, this is the perfect stepping stone into doing some wheel-to-wheel racing. And so today is the first day of the first race weekend for the series this summer. And every first race, there's a full practice day, which is what happened today. It's the Friday of the weekend. We all just sent our cars out doing some shakedowns, checking out how the cars are feeling mechanically, and then doing some long stunt runs as well to check on fueling. You can probably get into that a little bit later because it feels like the hot topic these days is just like how to manage fueling and getting it working again. And when you make an upgrade to seemingly make it easier, sometimes, at least for the first race, it feels like one step forward, two steps back in trying to get things sorted again. Yeah. How has been your practice day, would you say?
Practice day had its ups and downs, definitely. We started off the morning with a great running car. We had run into some issues where the car would go into sort of like a engine protection mode. I think it could be something as part of the EcuTech, but basically if the engine oil temperature and engine coolant temperatures aren't high enough, it won't allow the driver to rev past 5,000 RPM. Which is like, the engine's too cold, you probably don't want to drive it hard.
It's a safety measure.
Yeah, but it took us a few sessions and through, I think, 2 or 3 drivers to figure out what the issue was, because really there was nothing wrong with the car mechanically. So once that was figured out, we figured, okay, let's really prioritize warming up the car and making sure our vehicle is up to temperature before sending the driver out, and then that essentially solved the problem. It was also in part due to a tape that we put on the front of our grille just to reduce the amount of cooling the car gets because it is a cold day. So trying to manage the temperature and its effect on the heat exchangers on the car, that definitely was a challenge today. But once we figured that out, okay, we're back out to running. And then toward the end of our day, we actually ran into an issue with a misfire. So the team's diagnosing the car right now. I have no idea what's going on. I
went over to chat with Adam and he's like, well, the coil packs are new, and it's, bank 4, which is not a typical one. That's on the driver's side, right? It's usually the passenger side in the 86 where you have the coil pack issues.
Yeah. So hopefully we've come up with a solution so that we can race tomorrow. And tomorrow will also be a management of temperature, given that it is wet and raining on the forecast. So
I thought it was going to be a transition race, but it now seems like it's gonna rain starting right at 9 a.m. and end raining right at 5 p.m. So it's
Yeah.
literally time boxing
Yes.
the race is when it's gonna rain.
Yes. The racing gods are punishing us for working on our cars very last minute, as most teams do.
Yeah. But you know what the interesting thing is? Like, I find the driving experience in the wet is pretty good. What's
Yes.
not good is the pit experience, and the spectator experience is a little rougher, right? Like when you're having to fuel and you're like putting on your wet gloves and your wet suit and your wet shoes, and you're like, ugh, you know, it's annoying. But I brought boots this time.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I was like, no, I remember how this played out last time.
Oh man, I should have done that. Some
Yeah,
like
that one
waterproof.
summer in Calabogie, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, you got like 2 10x10 tents butted up against each other, and there's a puddle forming on top, a little bit of wind shifts, and suddenly that puddle is going in between the 2 tents, and you're taking a shower, and there goes.
And I'm really hoping we don't run into any fogging issues as well. Like, you remember what happened to our car in Calabogie like 2 years ago, where it was like completely like,
oh my gosh,
frosted over, couldn't see out of it.
Forgot about this. I have anti-fog. I can give some
we
to
have
you
that
guys.
too, and you know, like that year we used a ton of it.
Oh man.
Shaving cream, dish soap, anti-fog. The temperature differential and the humidity was just too much to overcome.
Yeah.
So at least the TT has blowers.
Nice.
But it doesn't have the heater core anymore. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard of a team that put their air conditioning back into their car. So they bought a race car that was already caged. They're like, no, we're putting HVAC in this thing. It's a pretty smart decision given this weekend.
Yeah. No, that's true. Are we allowed to run with AC?
Maybe they just put the blower in just to get
that's
moving air. I'm not
is,
exactly sure, but they're like, yeah, we put the conditioning system back in so that we don't have fog. Which, like, you know, coming off of the novice lecture that I just gave, it's all about making the car and the driver last for 8 hours. You're not going to win this race on speed. You're going to win by surviving, especially with the new point system.
Yep, that and minimizing your pit stops as much as you can. As much as you can. Someone just gave us a look. Drove by. So, you know, first real track event after the winter, right? Does it feel like the build season? You know, we call it build season in Canada because, you know, in the winter we're not coming to the track. Not like people in California, they can just go year round.
Yeah.
Does it feel like it's paid off?
When I got into the car today and I put down some laps, I was like, oh man, the car feels phenomenal. Like the fuel tank being in the center now, just...
You've noticed a difference, huh? You feel it?
I did. Oh, well, we made a lot of changes, so it's hard to sort of pinpoint, but the suspension, we went way softer with the rear spring rates. The wing, we decreased our wing size, so we have a lot less drag. I'm achieving higher speeds entering turn 8 without trying so hard exiting 5. So getting to the point where I'm putting down comfortable laps at pace that we like, I'm like, this is good.
Yeah, we're doing a lot because our issue, M-Tech is the team that I'm racing for this year with Jason Lee, Chris Paczynski. Both those guys have big records in OTA, especially Chris. And then Leo, who's part of M-Tech, phenomenal front wheel drive driver as well. Really knows the TT. The issue that we're struggling with right now is fuel lasting the entire time. So we're running auxiliary fuel cell, right? So how that works is like you still want the simplicity of the OEM fueling system, which is great. Like the fuel gauge is typically accurate. Now, like with fuel cells, you kind of have to like finagle it to kind of read. Usually it's like either 0 or 100, and like in between, it just depends on whether you're in a corner or not, even with scaling. But with our auxiliary fuel cell that pumps fuel into the OEM tank, right? On a switch, you just switch it. I think you guys ran something similar to that last year. The problem is I think the scavenging is not very good, and so like it's only maybe using half, 2/3 of the fuel in the cell, and the rest is just sloshing around at the bottom, and it can't get picked up by the pump, right? And so we think the car maybe has 70 liters of usable fuel.
Man.
And so we got to stretch that out over 2 hours with it's a turbo car, detuned, but still it's a turbo car, and it likes to be thirsty.
Especially in this cold weather, you're probably
we're just
well powered.
I think it meant so we're just lift and coast. Turn 1 right here, turn 1, turn 2, turn 4, and turn 8.
Wow.
8 is funny because you gotta coast really early.
Yeah.
You're coasting like way before the bridge, and you're just looking at the speedometer. It's like, all right, 160, that's good. No need to brake, just chuck it in, right?
Yeah.
See how we go. But it's a thrill to drive because I think what's happening with the TT is the aero package on it is quite compelling and convincing, and mid corner is where it makes up most of the time. Because I think on the back straights, actually, it's not that easy for us to make passes. No, I'm being serious. Like, some of the BMWs
Okay.
that were out there,
Yeah, yeah,
man,
that's
like
true.
all those
That's true.
E36s, man, I'm telling you, they're pretty quick.
Oh yeah, man. Tech 53's car is so fast.
The white one, the black one,
Yes.
the Corvette,
Yes, the Corvette.
those are all pretty quick. And yeah, on the
Yeah.
back straight, yeah, you got to give it the beans exiting Moss Corner to get even close. But
Yeah. Chris blew by me though.
yeah,
we were
I mean,
going
as
up.
as we progressed through the practice day, we started realizing our field troubles, and so like it's just been okay. We need to adapt. You know, like
Okay.
turns 8, 9, 10, which is directly behind us, behind the camera here. Like we're looking
Yeah.
at it right now. We're just taking that in fourth. Like I know like the front straight is compromised, but it's just like, just try to save some fuel.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a little slow coming out of there, but average lap time has been pretty
Yeah.
good,
So an extra 5 minute pit stop is probably like a almost 2 to 3 lap penalty.
Yeah.
Which is 2 to 3 points,
Yeah,
which is
3
a lot.
laps. I think 3 laps. It's big. It's meaningful, but I should say, you know, we're kind of talking about these ideal conditions over. Literally, this is like the perfect lapping day.
Yeah, yeah.
But with the rain tomorrow, that's all to play for. Anything can happen. You know, there's like whether the car is really set up well to balance well to manage the low grip conditions. Like we're a little bit afraid of understeering through some of the fast braking zones.
Understeering.
Yeah, like with the TT, yeah, I think with rain and you know if you go deep into braking, I think that's probably what's gonna happen. Or like mid corner down 2 or something like that, front gets a little light. Because again, it's like an aero car where the front kicks in the faster you go kind of feeling. That's kind of how I felt being in the car. So it's a possibility. And yeah, I think front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, that's going to be a pretty big difference, I would say, in the wet. At least on corner exit, right?
Sure,
like it's hard with a rear wheel drive car to find the traction.
Gotta be patient.
And then there was actually a lot more novices in that class that I just saw you lead. And so driver experience also comes into play, right? And as to how comfortable are you driving these sustained laps over 2 hours, and actually the conditions are probably going to change even during a stint, right? They may be slightly drier, slightly wetter. The line's going to change. Maybe a dry line is going to start forming, you know. All the things we talked about, visibility, right? Dealing with the spray, you know, hopefully all the cars still have their wiper blades and stuff like that, right? So, it's going to be interesting.
Have you driven in the wet here?
Not a GP.
Ooh.
Not a GP. My last wet race was last year at Shannonville.
Okay.
That was fun. That was fun. But have you done this?
I've done it at 60% pace on an instruction day. I've instructed in the wet, and I definitely don't have the inherent feeling. I think I might have done a couple of laps like relatively quick, but it was in a GTI.
Oh, nice. And that's easy to drive in the wet.
Yeah, I feel like the front end was pretty responsive. I wasn't too concerned with understeer. Like you really have to like just be nose on the brake entering a corner, which you probably don't want to do that anyway.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I have heard there's potentially some streams that are gonna form in a couple of corners. 5? There's gonna be a stream.
I believe.
A or B. And it's like running towards you, kind of thing, because the elevation is sloped towards the cars coming, right?
At the exit of 5B, I believe there's one that goes diagonally across the track.
From the outside to the inside.
Yeah, you're crossing it either way.
Okay. Good to know.
I believe that's one of them. And then generally just like puddles on the track. So the bumps in turn 3 become a little bit more pronounced.
Yes.
There's a dip in turn 1. I don't know if water will collect there necessarily, but your car getting unsettled in the dry will get unsettled in the wet, given the traction levels. Turn 10 is definitely could be a little bit slippery as well, given all the rubber just goes into one spot. Everybody's line similar here.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So assuming everything's okay with the car.
Yep.
Right, and I think it probably will be. Adam's a genius when it comes to
Yes.
working on that
Yes.
car. What do you think the pep talk is going to be to the team later tonight?
No risk.
No risk?
Absolutely no risk. Yeah.
How's it going,
Hello.
guys? Enjoy the ride.
we
It's a great
just had
place.
we just had some bikers pass by us here going down
Cyclists.
turn 1. Yeah.
You can probably hear
Yeah.
the gear sets. Yeah, it's a great place to do bike rides, to do
Yeah.
track walk. Yeah, so no risk.
Yeah.
Who's gonna be giving the locker room speech? Is it gonna be Vin?
Yeah, it usually is Vin. Vin is sort of like he calms us down when we're too hyped about lap times, which
Yeah.
kind of happens in the spirit of competition. But he's the one to remind us, like, hey, this is an 8-hour race. We shouldn't push
Yeah.
too hard. And
Sure.
being risky with lap times has hurt us in the past with penalties.
Yeah.
So
Talked
yeah,
about that last time.
we're gonna get the pep talk for sure. Yeah.
That's funny. So take me to that training session that you just had
Yeah.
with the novices. What was the vibe? Like, what were the most common questions or concerns from the group?
Confusion about I got a couple of questions. Confusion about what flags are going to be used in certain situations.
Sure.
So, say the track gets a full course red. How will the drivers be notified about what to do? Will they be given a yellow? Will they be given a green? My answer is check the flagger. I'm not a flagger, but what is the flagger at the next station telling you? Because generally you're going to be stopped at the next marshal station with a red flag.
Right.
And that's probably in your benefit because you'll be able to understand what your next move is. You don't want to react to other cars coming up behind you like, oh, there's probably a green somewhere, I better go. And then the general vibe, I got a lot of like heads nodding when I repeatedly spoke about the point system being, one point per lap, and the fact that you have to survive the race. I think a lot of the new drivers resonated with it only because, at least for us when we were new, our intention was simply to finish the race. And I'm pretty glad to see a lot of the novice teams coming in with the same mentality. That means they're not going to take so much risk. And especially when I brought back the topic of rain tomorrow, they definitely resonated like, okay, yeah, we should have our heads on a little bit more properly tomorrow.
For sure. Yeah, I'm curious to see how the start of the race is going to be tomorrow. Like if there's actually going to be a lot of standing water on the track, especially on the straights, like just dealing with the spray when everyone's kind of bunched up at the beginning, can often be pretty interesting. And all the big aero cars,
little rooster
shoot
tails.
some rooster tails for everyone to see as well.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool.
You guys probably will. You've got a lot of
We'll
aero
see.
on that car.
I'm curious to see if it will. Yeah, like if you can see the aero wash and the off the rear wing. See what that looks like.
I can visualize myself as Adrian Newey, just like
together
eyeballing your arrow there. Yeah, it's gonna be sweet.
Yeah.
Are you guys how are you guys feeling about tomorrow?
I think today was confidence inspiring, I would say.
That's good.
Yeah. My biggest question coming into this weekend was how well is the fuel cell system. It's not even the cell, right? It's like the combination of things all kind of slammed together, right? Like we literally have to look at the OEM gauge cluster for the predicted number of kilometers remaining. And then there's a little blinker for when we manually turn on the pump switch for the auxiliary pump. And the gauge for the auxiliary pump literally reads like 0, 66, and 100.
Oh my gosh.
But the pump goes so fast, right? Like within like 5 minutes, it can almost like pump the entire auxiliary
into the
cell
OEM
into OEM. So you flip it on, it's like,
sweet.
All right, it reads 0. I'm like, okay. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We're getting fuel cut in some corners. Yeah, for sure. Like turn 1, turn 3, I think, or right-handers. There's gonna be some blips.
Is that because you're dry running the fuel pump?
It's just when the fuel gets low, I think the OE setup for the TT tends to fuel starve on right-handers. And in that car mid-corner, when that happens, it is a little bit of a shock because it's a pretty well set up front-wheel drive car. And the thing with front-wheel drive cars mid-corner, when they're really set up to rotate, lifting or off throttle really upsets the car, right? And that sustained surge blip can sometimes be enough to cause it to lose its balance, right? Which is kind of It's crazy, right? You think about like outside in, if you're like new to tracking, you're thinking about like that's not even something within your control, and you don't know when it's gonna
Yeah.
happen. But after it happens one time, you kind of expect it like every single lap thereafter is probably gonna happen.
Hmm.
And you just kind of have to adjust for it and keep your hands loose on the wheel just in case you need to throw in a little counter. But
Oh man.
I think it'll be okay.
Is that the remedy for that? You just plan ahead and understand when it's going to happen?
Just know that it's going to happen.
Okay.
Probably take it a little bit more chill in those corners. Like you don't have to be on the knife's edge of grip.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are on the knife's edge of grip, you're going to lose the rear.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed, right? That's just physics. So I think what we've been trying to do is just figure out like how can we be fuel efficient, easy on the car,
yeah,
easy on the driver, and still hit the target times that we're kind of going for.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar to what you guys are doing, right? And that's just kind of how endurance racing goes.
Yeah. It should be, at least for, I think we're kind of a little bit more experienced. There is still some mentality of like, I need to make this car way faster, and it's unfortunate, which is why we try to do this and be like, hey, maybe you should make your car more reliable and make your team more sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know any of the are there any new teams this year, or is it just new drivers joining existing teams?
There are new drivers joining existing teams. There are old teams that bought new cars that they're rerunning. Yeah. Lap Traffic bought a GTI.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Another team.
It's got the Rabbit. Is it an R32?
I think it's a GTI.
It's a GTI?
I don't think it's an R.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's a Mark V, right?
It is a Mark V.
Yeah.
And then somebody bought their Celica, which I believe they're here for this weekend. We've got a lot of Quebec teams here.
Friend
Daniel.
Yes, and then Eric's driving in that.
Ryer?
I think so.
I did see a black Miata.
Yes, I think he's driving the Celica.
Okay.
That's what I heard. And then the Days of Thunder guys, somebody told me they're in a Miata now, right?
The silver NC. Yeah.
That's a very big change for them, but it's also a very exciting change. I like the truck too. I mean, the first couple of seasons when we raced the truck, I think it was like properly like a GT2 car, but then it got a motor swap or something done to it, and it got way faster last year. Sad to see the truck go, but yeah, Miata, pretty compelling package.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is the answer in more cases than most.
What do you think is gonna happen tomorrow?
I think the unfortunate reality is that it's rain and it's Mosport. It's Canadian Tire Mosport Park. Generally, people get.
You gotta respect this place.
Into a wall. That's I don't want to say, I don't want to put it into the universe, but it is the reality of racing, especially at the grassroots levels.
Yeah. Well, we'll try to get this podcast out tonight. And, tell everyone in the paddock, hey, listen to this, right? Like, take it easy, right? Yeah. If it were to happen, what corners do you think is most susceptible?
4.
Turn 4?
4, yeah. 4 has even in the dry the shortest runoff on the outer edge of the corner.
Yeah.
And if you're taking that corner with the wrong side of the banking, you could be on an off-camber section.
Yep.
And you're just going to run into the outside, and it's just unfortunate. Even today, there was one team that went off in 4 on the inside, but they still sprayed the track.
Got footage of that one.
You got footage? You were behind that car?
Right behind him.
Dude. So what was your reaction? What happened?
I thought it was like, okay, like he's got it. Like in terms of like, I don't think he was gonna hit the wall, right? He dug up a lot of dirt, so it's probably true. Like when we were talking to the driver, like after your clinic, he was saying he dug in. I didn't realize that, but it makes sense because there's a lot of dust.
Man.
But with those corners, I think it's just like, because I already entered the corner.
Yeah.
When I saw that happen.
Yep.
And so I was just kind of going on the inside, passing, but then the car was still moving a lot, and I don't know if it's like a holding the brake situation or the car was still like just like literally still sliding and uncontrollably, but like we got within a couple of feet of each other. But that's okay. I think it was mostly controlled.
Brown pants moment there. Holy.
Yeah. I would think for wet potential problem areas, I think 3 on the outside. If you get on the throttle a little too soon, right? And let's say you catch a rear wheel drive rear tire on the grass.
Yeah. You're going for a loop.
And the walls on both sides
Yes.
are pretty close to right.
Yes.
People don't really think about 3 as one of those corners, but it's not a lot of runoff there.
Well, this does bring up the topic of, like, you know, when we talk about respecting Mosport, Canadian Tire Mosports Park,
Yeah.
generally folks talk about turn 2 being particularly dangerous
Yeah.
and turn 8.
Yeah.
And then it comes up that you and I haven't mentioned any of those corners with respect
Yeah,
to danger.
I think it's because you respect it so much, you really train those corners.
Yeah.
And you understand, like, very methodically, almost like robotic, like this is how I take that
Yeah.
corner, right? Yeah, because I think for me right now, the ones that I worry about would be, which ones do I worry? That's certainly for, like, because sometimes you just feel like you have so much grip and you just like go crazy, right?
Yeah.
Flat, wide open throttle and just send it, and it just like sticks, right? But
Yeah.
then, you know, as we've seen last year in OTA, like our good friend Phil
Oof.
changed the aero balance a little bit, and it can completely change, you know, that corner
Yeah.
and how the car feels, right? Right now, like it's the corners that I get worried about is not the ones that going into the corner. I know it's nerve wracking for me, but the ones where there's an odd chance of something happening and I don't know why,
Oof.
or I couldn't expect it, right? So in my mind, it's usually something like the outside of 3. And I would probably say turn 10, the final corner as well. Because sometimes I get on the throttle early thinking like, I got it lined up. I have enough exit. And then midway through is like, okay, I got to ease off a little bit because I'm pretty sure I'm going to touch the grass.
I've been there.
Outside, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's just those corners where it's just like you have that false confidence or the lack of, like, I don't know, explainability, a way to dissect what's really happening and why something is happening, right? It's like similarly, like I feel the same way with like the final corner at TMP. It's like sometimes I can really send it, and other times like it comes out a little bit, and then you end up kissing the wall slightly, like whatever, right? So stuff like that.
And you guys had a moment in turn 1 before?
Yeah, that's I you know, I'm this weekend I'm filming a bit of like a documentary for the series, and I actually wanted to go over there and film and talk about my incident there, because it was the first time I raced at GP. I put the fit into the wall on the exit of one, not quite the full exit, but like kind of midway through, because what was happening is back then the fit was what would be the equivalent of the GT3 class in Lucky Dog, right? So it's the slowest class. 2 faster cars were coming down the front straight, and my rookie mistake was I gave them the line because I didn't want to impede, because I was just like, it's like, you know, the fit, like it's very, like, even if you're offline, you're not going that fast such that you're like at the grip limit.
Yeah.
But the issue is this was like hour 7 of 8. I was outside line into turn 1. Man. And so, I mean, you can see those black spots in the distance behind us. That's rubber, right?
Yeah.
That's like, we call those marbles. And so on the outside of turn 1, because it's a right-hander, there is a lot of marbles. And so I just lost a rear end, and it's a short wheelbase. And for a time, I thought I could pull it out of it, but then it just kept sliding further and further to the left, further into the marble. So like the more you try to control, the less grip you had, because you're just in worse and worse and worse tarmac, and then end up hitting the tire barrier. And what I remember most about that, like I was totally fine. You know, the safety equipment did its job. But what I do recall is the noise that was made when all that energy was released from the compact. I was expecting it to be more of like a crunch or a thud, but it was a very, very loud bang.
Damn.
Bang, high pitch bang. Like all that energy is just like getting released into the universe, right, from the crumple.
My gosh.
But no, I mean, team was great. Everyone was like super supportive, and I offered to be like, yo, like, you know, my mistake, let me find us another chassis. And they're like, no, don't do that, because, you know, we don't want to set that precedent, because it could have happened to anyone.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of team you want to look for, right? So it was good vibes all around. But yeah, I still remember it. I think doesn't impact my driving psyche at this point.
Did it ever?
I think for a while, this accident not as much as some other incidents that have happened, right? Mostly because it was easy to explain what had happened. It's the ones where it's just like you run out of talent and you like have no idea what happened. That stuff can set you back a little bit, because you're just always wondering, like, did I ever was I ever able to do that corner consistently, or was it the car that was just like masking the mistakes? Was it because I had really sticky tires that just no matter what I did, it just kind of kept the car planted?
Yeah, the ambiguity sucks, man.
Yeah, it's like when you can explain it and you understand what happened and you know how to correct it, I don't think it really stays with you. At least it didn't with me. But yeah, when it's ambiguous and you're still thinking like what happened, right? And you don't have footage to review.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's so important, because like memory is very bad.
Especially in a
when
high
you're
adrenaline
racing.
situation.
Yeah, high adrenaline,
Yeah.
you're racing. You're not gonna remember what happened, right? Like when I was talking to the novice driver, it's like in my eyes, like I thought I saw him like maybe release the brake after he was going through his spin, right? Whereas like, cause you know the rule of thumb is like when you spin, you hold the brakes, because drivers are trying to anticipate which way to dodge, right?
Yep.
And if you don't, you could have a very slow collision because like you're just literally rolling into another car.
Yeah.
So I thought he may have not been fully on the brakes, but he said he was. And I'm thinking, it's very possible that my memory is just making this up, because I just got really close to him, right? And so there's footage so we can check and see, but you know, long story short, you don't remember things as it happened. That's why just getting a GoPro, not only for like learning about like mistakes you have, but also like how to improve and see whether you're taking the right lines, hitting the right apex, get other people's opinion, right?
Yeah.
Glad to hear the RSX is okay. We'll see them out on track. I have a soft spot for RSXs.
I'm aware. As you
it's
should,
great.
man.
So yeah, great to see them out here as well, and then looking forward to seeing them out on track tomorrow.
Yeah, I actually met that driver at a WASCA event.
Okay, cool.
That's the Western Ontario Sports Car Association. They run an autocross at the Centralia Airport near London.
Yeah,
it's an awesome place to do autocross. But yeah,
nice.
It's really nice to see somebody you meet in autocross coming to do road racing. Like,
I think it's just so accessible now, right? You just kind of have to have the motivation to say like, yeah, this is what I want to do, and find the right people. And here we are. You'll be sitting on the front straight of Mosport in no time.
I don't know if your average Lucky Dog participant is going to be doing a podcast.
Yeah.
But we're crazy enough to do it ourselves.
We'll see. All right. Well, it's getting chilly, and we all got places to be tonight to debrief the team, get some rest. Nobody ever gets good sleep in these events. So like, I don't know, we're getting older now. I feel like I just really need to prioritize that. Any last thoughts before we sign off?
No, man. Good luck to you tomorrow. Hope you have a great race.
He's trying to be formal.
No,
he's like,
actually,
though,
like, man.
Good luck,
we try
peace.
We try to save you a pit spot. Like we're just trying to have fun.
It's great. We're probably for this season, I'm just gonna say we're probably each other's biggest rivals, but we're also probably the closest friends. Across all the teams.
Yeah.
It's good. That's how it should be, right? Friendly rivalries, helping each other out, lending a hand when you can, be each other's fire bottle people.
Yeah.
But then when you're on the track, still friendly. Still friendly.
I really want to just be side by side with you guys for a lot of.
Well, you'll be out there with Jay first stint tomorrow, and we're probably gonna be gridded right next to each other. I see as our pits are right next to each other. So
let's do it, man.
Let's see how it goes. All right. Thanks for joining us.
Peace out.
Hope you enjoyed this special episode. And again, if you're listening to this, go on YouTube and watch and just take in the sunset at Mosport on the front straight. We're glad you could join us, and we'll catch you on the next one.
See you guys.
All right, let's make sure it's still recording. Yeah, the tally light is on. Perfect.
Oh, you guys just finished?
Yeah, we just finished.
Yo, start it up again. I'll just sneak up in the back slowly.
Too funny. Just come hang out.
Get over here.
Yo, why don't you guys take the seat?
What do you mean?
Nothing.
Yo, Chris, sit there.
Always late to the show.
This guy's gonna finish up my podcast now.
So for those of you guys who are joining us just by audio, our buddy Jason Lee is always trying to pub
Wait,
his channel.
Video right now?
There's video. It's
video
recording.
right now, man.
Video.
Yeah.
Woo!
Driver's Paddock, subscribe.
Just turn into a driver's
Subscribe.
like everything.
Mr. Patrick, my boy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Subscribe,
Patrick
baby.
just got a driver's paddock t-shirt.
This is my second one today, man.
Oh, did I give you another
You
one?
gave me the
Oh, I
large.
already gave you
You
one.
gave me the large, dude.
Here's the medium. Here's the medium, bro. Here's the medium.
I get 2 shirts?
Yeah, you got.
Dude, the plug.
Yeah, man.
The plug.
All right.
Give the large ones whoever you think.
See you
Goodbye.
guys.
Team M Tag, let's go. Movie racing, you already know.